All right, we are recording. Welcome to the Fanzeal Week in Review. We had a little bit of a change in how we're going to do things here at Fanzeal. Normally, Brandon and I come to you every Sunday morning at 12:30 p.m., 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing it a little different from here on out. We're going to be coming to you Friday nights because we want to bring you the Week in Review live, have a chance to talk about everything that happened, and you'll notice some more tape segments coming in the Monday Sportzeal newsletter, more of them on the website. But this gives us a chance to really debate what happened in the week, stay on top of it, keep everything fresh, and really get our NFL picks, should we desire, in a little early. So, Brandon, good to see you, my man. How was your week?
It was okay. How about yourself, sir?
Not too bad, sir. Everything is kosher over here. Good week in sports, especially if you are a New York Mets fan. Yeah. So the New York Mets, for the first time in what feels like about 6.5 decades, are going to be back in the World Series. I know it's only been 20 or 25 years, whatever it is, but the Mets are going to be back in the World Series on the strength of young arms, good starting pitching, timely hitting, and superhero Daniel Murphy. What do you think is going to go on with this team in the World Series, and what did you think of their performance?
You can't knock them. I mean, these guys, they've been playing out of their minds. Daniel Murphy, I don't think he wants anyone near him because he's afraid they're going to pinch him and he's going to wake up. There's no way that you could time this any better. The guy's playing the best that he's ever played in his career. When he's got all eyes on him, then the entire nation is watching him. And, oh, yeah, the guy's about to be a free agent. So you think that they're not about to loosen up the purse strings a little bit to go ahead and pay this guy? And
the Mets have already said he's not coming back. They are not going to pay that kind of money. They got somebody in the system who they really like, who they think is their second baseman of the future. So Daniel Murphy has picked a really good time to get hot because he's going to hit the free agent jackpot. A guy who was probably signing for somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 over 3 years, 20 over 3 years, is probably now looking at closer to 8 or 9 a year. And this is just, a short sample, but he's doing it at the right time.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you think that New York media is gonna hit the Mets if they don't win the World Series and they don't bring this guy back?
That'll be interesting. He has a long body of work, but it also depends. If this guy ends up, he's already been the NLCS MVP. And by the way, I loved his I can't believe this is happening to me attitude. Yeah. I thought that was fantastic. But he's already been the NLCS MVP. If he's also the World Series MVP, I wonder if the Mets don't reconsider and say, okay, we can't get this guy out of uniform quite yet.
Well, I think if he ends up winning the World Series MVP, I think that pushes his price tag up to $10 million.
Yep.
It just does automatically. And, the guy's already 30 years old, so he's pretty much in his prime. You're not certain what you're going to get from this point. But if the guy can be anything like a shell of what he's putting out here now, what is it, 7 home runs in the playoffs, and he's played against every top pitcher. Was it the top 5 in the Cy Young?
Yep.
And he's got a home run off of each one of them. You know how ridiculous that sounds?
It's insane for sure. We are also, by the way, as we're broadcasting this Fanzeal Week in Review live, we are right in the middle of Game 6 of the ALCS, and currently Kansas City is up on Toronto. Over the next 20 minutes or so that we have left in this here Blab, we'll keep you updated if anything happens. But this would be really interesting. I like the Kansas City-New York matchup. I know that, from a broadcast perspective, it's better because they don't measure Canadian television, but I think it's better from a baseball perspective too. I think the Royals give you a great storyline within, one hitter last year of winning the World Series. Yeah. It's amazing defense. And while their pitching hasn't been as good, these guys have been scoring at a much higher rate than anybody anticipated.
Well, dude, the slowest guy on their team is probably the second fastest guy on everyone else's team. They built their team around a lot of young prospects. They've got decent pitching. They're not going to wow you with the home run ball, but they're going to hit the ball, and they're aggressive on the base pads, and they can get the score up on you really quick. As a fan of the game, I don't think you can really go wrong whether it's a Jays Mets or Royals Mets World Series. I mean, you think people don't want to see Joey Bats in the World Series, given that look, that stone death stare after the home run and the bat.
That was the best. That was the best bat flip I have seen ever.
Yeah,
I love this. I know there was a lot of outcry that, hey, he's disrespecting the game. I thought, given the emotions of the moment, the way that the inning had unfolded, the nonsense with the Russell Martin hits the ball off Chu, I just thought, what an honest moment, and we don't get that a lot.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to tamp it down and keep everything, respectful and play the game the right way and all this, bullshit, unwritten rule stuff. I thought that was the most honest, emotional moment I have seen in a long time. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. To me, really, the only people that I think have a problem with it are the people that can't do it. And everybody can't hit a 400-foot bomb in the playoffs, in front of 100,000 people. Most people aren't going to be able to do that. So you know what?
Well, I certainly can't.
Who's that?
I certainly can't.
Maybe on a good night. I've seen you out there.
400 feet in the playoffs against a major league pitcher. I'd be happy to get it out of the infield, my man. Speaking of guys who can hit, though, one of them is now no longer in Los Angeles. This week, in a mutual parting of ways, and I know you think it's a firing, and we'll get to that. In a mutual parting of ways, Don Mattingly and the Dodgers decided they're done with each other. It's time to move on after 3 straight playoff trips and not being able to get any real impact, certainly not getting to the World Series. They said it's time to try something new. It was a new management group, and they were apparently getting along fine, but you think there was more to it.
Yeah. I just think Donnie Baseball really never fit here. No matter what he did, there was always going to be something. Kind of the Pau Gasol effect, I like to call it.
Interesting.
He got us to the playoffs 3 straight years, but everyone was always going to concentrate on something else. Oh, well, even if he got us to the World Series, oh, well, he should have got us there. Look at the payroll.
Right.
Or, he won this. Well, he should have done that. That's, you know what? No other place do you really have that issue. I myself think Mattingly, like most old Yankees do when they get old and they retire, where do they go? They go to Miami. So I think that's where Donnie Baseball is going to be heading. It's going to be, we had a mutual understanding, and he liked us and we liked him, and come on, call it what it is. Donnie's going to end up there. I still think the Dodgers are looking to go ahead and hire from within. The hot name that I'm hearing is Gabe Kapler.
Yep.
Who basically quit working as an analyst for TV to run the Dodgers farm program.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, my issue with Don Mattingly has always been this: if you're going to say that the man's not a good coach and all that, that's fine. But who are you going to bring in that's better? And when you're playing in a market like LA, you can't just necessarily bring in the young and upcoming guy who you think may get it, or, he likes your analytics the way that you do. You've got to have a name that you can throw out there that people are going to be willing to say, yeah, I'm going to give them a shot. Yeah, I'm going to give them my money. Most of LA is still pissed off that they can't even watch the games on TV.
Well, you know what the name nobody's talking about is, and the story obviously has no legs as of now. But had it not been for that contract window and the strange way that everything went down in Tampa last year, Joe Maddon would be in play for the LA Dodgers. Yeah. With his old ownership group, his old manager, front office group. He's here. There's no question about it. LA pays any price they have to bring Joe Maddon in, and Joe Maddon gets this team to the World Series. Period.
Yeah.
But now they have to go for Gabe Kapler, and it's another situation of a guy not having a lot of major league or any major league managerial experience, which you wonder, while it's a trend, really only Mike Matheny's broken that, and even his decisions have been questionable.
Yeah.
If you look at the guys still left, they're longtime, skippers. They've been around. They understand the game. So I'm not loving this whole Kapler idea. But it won't make a difference if they don't get a number 3 and a number 4 pitcher, because Greinke, who I assuming they're going to open the checkbook for, will be back. Kershaw is, unbelievably good. But they need more pitching, and they need somebody to bridge the gap between their closer and what happens when their 3, 4, 5 starters only go 6 innings. That's where the Dodgers front office really needs to take some of this, quadrillion-dollar war chest they seem to have. And they need to fill these spots, or it won't matter who is doing the hiring, the managing, the bullpen, the pitching coach. None of that will matter. And by the way, all the coaches are likely gone too. But none of that is going to matter if they can't bring in arms.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, let me ask you this. What would you offer to Greinke? Or would you give him 7 years?
He's 31 now?
Yeah, so
he's going to break down. I don't know. Maybe you front load a contract on purpose with a 3-year out. He's 34, 35, and you take that Sabathia risk, but you paid him, $90 million over the first 3 with the clause going down after that. I mean, the concept of $1 million to start is insane to me, and I think that starting pitching has gotten just out of control. But that's where the game is. There's a lot of good young hitters, and people are loading up on good young pitchers, and they're not letting them go. So when one of them hits the free agent market, you got to hold on to them. And, I think a front-loaded deal, I wouldn't go 7 unless, the first 4 were guaranteed, or obviously the baseball contracts are all guaranteed. But some sort of, opt-out, 3 years in, 4 years in, give yourself, a cushion.
For some money.
Right, but make it player-friendly up front so Greinke knows, you really love him and he understands. I don't think he wants to leave LA. I think he likes it here. It's low-key, even for a big city. The media attention, especially on Greinke's been nothing. Everything's on Kershaw and Gonzalez and Mattingly, and it'll be on Kapler. And Greinke, for having one of the great seasons in Major League Baseball history, was pretty much under the radar.
Yeah. My only issue with Greinke is that he's thrown a lot of pitches.
Yeah,
that's a lot of wear and tear. The way that I would approach it, I would offer him 5 years, 130, 3 years at 30, and then the last 2 years coming down 5 each year.
Okay.
To me, that's the best offer that you're really going to be able to put out there. I just can't see him maintaining that level.
Right.
And you got to get somebody else, whether it's Cueto, whether it's Price. There's a lot of other, young guys that are out there that have got some pretty hot arms, but a lot of them are still question marks. And, you got deep pockets, but that doesn't necessarily mean you got to have long arms. And, you start going in there, you start dumping all your money on pitching, which, you had teams like the Braves did it back in the 90s, and they were pretty successful. But at some point, you gotta move some assets from somewhere else. So this is where I think someone like Puig comes into play. And don't be surprised if you see a Puig to New York for, a couple of young pitchers. Maybe if the Dodgers could get Tanaka.
Yeah, but now you're dealing with an arm injury. You're dealing with, and they've got their own pitching problems. I think it's more likely the Mets unload one of their young kids than it would be that the Yankees do. But again, if they win the World Series this year, they're not going to give up anything. They're going to find more money for Cespedes. And I want to cut in here real quickly. On Monday's Fanzeal newsletter, we're doing the top 5 reasons the Mets will win the World Series. So if you've got a funny one, tweet it to us at Fanzeal. Go to our Facebook page at Fanzeal Sports. Give us your best. Somebody popped in with more Cespedes for the rest of us, and I love that. I thought that was great.
Nice. I like that.
I don't know that'll make the cut, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We only have about 10 minutes left here in the Blab, so I want to cover a few things with you, and I want to start with the NFL's hypocrisy. Because the NFL all month through October is letting everybody wear pink, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it has come out time and time again that this is a fraud. It is flat out it's a fraud. It's theft. They are making it seem like all of this money is going to go to breast cancer, and every year somebody looks into it, and less than 10% does. I think last year was 8%, You know, it's a joke. It's a way for the NFL to make more money.
And the NFL charges them licensing fees.
Right. There's licensing fees. There's all kinds of stuff going on. You know, they make special jerseys that they then, again, licensing fees. There's fees to be involved. There's sponsorship fees. It's really the NFL. It's what they do. But one of the things that annoyed me this week is Ironhead Haywood died when he was in his 30s of cancer. They believe he was in his 30s. And his son, Cameron Haywood, now plays for the Steelers. And as a tribute, he's been wearing the eye black that says Ironhead. It's Cancer Month. Yes, it's Breast Cancer Month, but it's Cancer Month in the NFL. So what does the NFL do? They threaten to fine him increasingly for a uniform violation every time. Now, I understand the slippery slope aspect of this, but at some point, isn't the hypocrisy of what the NFL is doing just outweighed by the common sense of, for the month, he can also support cancer?
The NFL, they seem to lack common sense a lot of times, and this seems to be one of those. If anything, they should be using this as a chance to market it even more. I thought they would have jumped all over this, but clearly Roger and the boys are sleeping up there.
It's brutal. It's I don't know what they're doing. At some point, there's going to be backlash. It's going to start with concussions.
Yes.
It's going to start with the injuries. It already has a little bit, but it's going to be backlash when the NFL keeps making money off everything and people start realizing that these are not things to take part in. These campaigns you can draw as much attention to you as you want, but it's not like anybody's unaware that breast cancer is an issue we need to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought that the NFL was better than this. And we always come down on them and joke about, some of the idiotic rulings that they have and the stuff they're always charging a player for and this, that, and the other. And this is just one of those moments that as an organization, a billion-dollar organization, you've got to learn how they could have screwed this up. And it doesn't look like there's any brilliance in sight. There's no quick fix for them because it seems like they're doing more and more to stick their foot in their mouth and to make it worse. Like next thing they're going to say, oh, no, those kids in wheelchairs, they can't have access to the field. We don't want those kids around our star players. Like, really?
Look, it is a league of making money. Goodell his only job is to make money for the owners. And if that keeps happening, if he keeps nailing these big contracts, he keeps getting the sponsorship. I mean, the NFL is now a 365-day-a-year operation from a publicity standpoint, not just a business standpoint, which it would be anyway. But now it is in the news 365 days a year. They're making money hand over fist. They're going to have to pay, a ton of it out in concussion settlements when all is said and done, but it'll be a drop in the bucket over a 20-year period. It's hypocrisy. It makes no sense to me, and it really the problem is I'm going to still watch every Sunday morning.
Yes,
I'm going to be in front of my TV. I'm going to be angry at it. I'm going to yell at the screen. I'm going to call them hypocrites, and then I'm going to watch every game on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and that's essentially their mindset. It's almost like, yeah, we know, but you're still going to watch anyway. So There's not much you can do about it. Everyone is starting for NFL football. We're in the second largest market, and we have no football team. You think that people here are going to care that the money for breast cancer for the pink Raider jersey that they're going to buy?
Not even a little bit.
They're not going to care.
They want the team. They want the action. They want the game. They're tired of not having a team. Look, it's time for LA to have a team. I could care less. I like not having to watch one specific team every week, especially, when it's, going to potentially be the Raiders or the Rams. I don't want to really watch either of those two teams every week. So I'm going to have to get the NFL package. Usually I go to the bar because, down here in California, what most of you guys on the East Coast don't know is we wake up, we have our bagels, our eggs, and our unlimited mimosas, and that's how we start our Sunday mornings or our screwdrivers, either way. A lot of orange juice. There's a lot more to talk about, so go to Fanzeal Sports on YouTube. Brandon and I are going to touch on a few other topics. after the Zeal. Next week, one of the things we're going to take on is this unbelievable system in college football where you can be undefeated, you can win a game, and drop in the rankings. We don't have time to get into it today. We're going to wrap up here, but it is something we want to talk about. We want your input, so tweet us at Fanzeal. Head over to the Fanzeal Facebook page. Head over to fanzeal.com and check it out. And remember, we want to talk to our fans, but we've got a lot to say. So we'll be back here next week with the Fanzeal Week in Review on Fridays. We appreciate everybody stopping in and checking us out, and we'll see you next week. For Brandon Boykin, I'm Justin Simon.